All right, guys, today we are back in the world of BaByliss, where we will be comparing the FX1 here in matte black, the FX Plus here in gold, the Snap FX in the shiny black, and the Boost FX in red. Now, at the time of this video, the Snap FX and the Boost FX are not available for purchase on the BaByliss website, so they're phasing them out. We're mainly going to focus in on the FX1 and the FX Plus. Now, quick overview before we get into it. The main difference between these two machines is the FX1, which is the higher end, comes with the newer metal injection molded blade. This has the classic taper blade. They both have the same motor. FX1 has the lid that you could take off to clean it. FX Plus does not. FX1 has a removable battery that you can use with the FX1 ecosystem and other machines. FX Plus battery is built in and it charges USB-C, and that's the main difference. That's the quick overview, but let's get into the details now. So since we started talking about the blade on the FX1, let's talk about this metal injection molded blade. For short, we'll call it the MIM blade. Now, metal injection molded is a more precise technique when making metal parts. They use the same technique when making guns and hospital equipment, and it allows you to make more intricate parts, which is why I think they're kind of showing off with the wiggly grooves here. And let's open it up and see what it really looks like. Okay, so here's the metal injection molded blade, and you see in the stationary blade, you see all over here, these little cutouts. Those are all oil reservoirs where the oil is going to sit in and help keep your blade lubricated for longer and have a smoother, friction-free performance. Right here, and even on the teeth. You see on the teeth? Oil reservoirs. And these teeth also don't grab pores, which is a big thing for me because there's nothing more uncomfortable for a customer is when the blade digs into the pores. And because it's metal injection molded, it requires less retooling when it comes out of the cast. That also means that there's going to be more product consistency. So if you have one that doesn't grab pores, none of them will probably grab pores. Let's take a look at the cutting blade, where you'll also see right there where some oil can sit as well, and here. So they have all these little cuts, and even we're able to engrave BaByliss Pro on the blade. Now the cutting blade is said to be angled to provide an ultra precise cut. Probably hard to see in camera, but I'm going to take the blade off the FX Plus so you can see the difference. All right, so comparing the stationary blade, you see there's no oil reservoirs on the traditional method, which I believe is die cast to make this blade. And you see it's even a little, there's some texture here, which I'm sure is part of the casting, and this is smooth. So all of that, the oil reservoirs, the more precise blade, and it being smoother is all going to lead to less heat, better performance, and also longer battery life because the motor doesn't have to deal with as much friction and drain on the battery as much. So you see the difference right there with the stationary blade. Let's compare the cutting blade. So you see the FX1 metal injection molded, the MIM blade on the left, traditional cutting blade on the right. No oil reservoirs, and I don't know if you guys can see any difference with the angled cutting blade. So that's the main difference with the blade. The Low Pro, anything FX1 Clipper, the Low Pro FX1 also comes with it. And throughout all the machines, they change the color. They're all coated in titanium, which is my favorite coating. And this video can double up as comparing the Low Pro as well, because the Low Pro, same battery that switches in and out, has the same blade and the same motor. It's just a different body shape. So it's really an ergonomic preference thing, whatever you want. Okay, now we'll talk about the blade that comes on the FX Plus. Every FX Plus comes with a taper blade. This has more of a bump out here to help assist with the scoop out motion when you're blending hair. Now they have different coatings. Some of them are different colors. That just means different coatings. I have to do a whole separate video on blades and coatings to really get into it. But all the FX Plus come with a taper blade. Snap FX, I've only seen 2 versions of this clipper, whether it's the black or the gold, and they both come with a fade blade. When it comes to the boost, there's so many different versions of the boost. I've only seen it come with a fade blade and this blade. This is the wedge blade. I believe they call it the tri blade now. This is supposed to be the best of both worlds between the taper blade and the fade blade. These ridges here are supposed to help it when you're cutting left to right and up and down. And this even assists a little bit with curlier coarse hair. So it's a preference thing at the end of the day, but those are pretty much the blades that come with this machine. Now we're going to move on right to the motor. Now all of these machines run at the same RPMs. They all run at 6,800 RPMs. And I'll test that before we talk about the motor type, FX1. $6,783 rounded up 6,800, and it amazes me because BaByliss always seems to get all of these machines to run at exactly the same RPMs. FX Plus. Same exact RPMs. Snap FX. Same exact RPMs. Boost FX. Same exact RPMs. Now, let's talk about the motor. When they came out with the FX1, they called it the N1 brushless motor. Now, the N1 brushless motor is said to have dual ball bearings. Whenever you hear dual ball bearings in a motor, it usually helps balance out the rotations. It helps it run more efficient and also quieter as well. So because it's running more efficient, you have a longer lifespan as well. When you add that to the metal injection molded blade having oil reservoirs, making sure the blade's running nice and smooth and cool and not a lot of friction, you have an efficient brushless motor with dual ball bearings. All of that gives you more battery life because you're not draining the battery as much for the clipper to perform. So that's the motor in the FX1. They put the same motor in the FX Plus. Now this FX Plus machine, they could have even called this the Retro FX because traditionally it's the original FX body just with the new motor, the M1 brushless motor, the upgraded battery, and also charges USB-C. That's pretty much it. And they kind of drop that like nobody knows. So moving on, definitely the best motor that they offer to date. With the motor that was in the Snap FX and the Boost FX, when they came out with this motor, they just said higher speed, higher torque. They didn't name it. I had a little issue with it overheating easily and shutting off, like if your blades are crooked, if you don't have them oiled and they're slightly crooked, or the little plastic piece by the tension spring could be rubbing against the motor and causing it to shut off. I did videos on that. That's a whole nother thing. So moving right along, let's get to the battery. The FX1, newer, upgraded battery, and you have a runtime of 2.5 hours. This is part of a whole ecosystem. So this works with basically all these machines. Trimmer, low pro, clipper, low pro trimmer, shaver, all with the FX1 battery. It has indicators. When it's full, you'll have 4 blue lights, and when it's low, it'll be red button for the pop out. Now, there is no way to charge this battery by itself. You have to have the charging stand that comes with it, where just like when you put it in the clipper, you line the arrows up, and then you could use USB-C or the traditional BaByliss plug, and then you'll have it charging up. If anyone has an issue with your Snap FX charging or your FX1 charging, you have to make sure that these tabs, those little silver tabs in there, aren't bent in and they're able to make contact with the battery. Because I think that was one of the issues with the Snap FX. Now, FX1 battery, once again, 2.5 hours of runtime. FX Plus has 3 hours of runtime, a bigger battery, and you can use it with the cord, and it charges USB-C. Snap FX with the traditional battery with the blue ring, you have 2 hours, and they have one that's an upgraded battery with the green ring around it, which is the one I have in it now. This one will get you 2.5 hours. And these batteries are really cheap right now because they pretty much abandoned ship on the Snap FX. You could get some good deals on this machine. The Boost FX battery is over 2 hours of runtime. Now let's get into more simple stuff. We'll just weigh these machines with the battery and then we'll go into the noise level. FX1 with the battery inside it, 12.9 ounces. FX Plus, 13.5 ounces. Snap FX, 13.6 ounces. Boost FX, 13.9 ounces. Noise test. Let's say 74 decibels for the FX1, FX Plus. Say 73, pretty much the same thing. Snap FX. The Snap FX coming in 72, but I did some work on the Snap FX to really have that thing running smooth, man, I tell you. Boost FX. .75, we'll call it 75 decibels. So there's really not a big difference in the sound, I wouldn't say. Sound is about the same. Now, how much do these cost? Well, at the time of this video, on Amazon, the FX1 is $259.99. That's the version that comes with all the accessories. We'll get into what it comes with in a second. They also sell the tool by itself, which is nice. If you have the battery already, you could get a new tool, which is a little bit cheaper. This is available in, I mean, they have so many different colors, man. And there even are versions that have the rubber grip. Only previously, I think only the Boost FX had the rubber grip. So you could get the FX1 with the rubber grip. You just have to look a little bit, do a little bit of digging on the website. But all of them come with that metal injected molded blade with the titanium coating. Price for the Gold FX is $229.99. All of the other colors, the rose gold, the silver, those are $209.99. The only reason why I find this would be more expensive is because this has the best coating of the blades on it. It has the gold titanium stationary blade and the DLC cutting blade. So that's why I think this one's a little bit more expensive. Snap FX, listen, man, there is a fire sale on these things everywhere, and I actually like this machine. So you could get this cheap. The Boost FX, I wouldn't even buy this nowadays, honestly. And real quick, let's talk about the body of these because there are some differences. You can see visually the FX1 is a little bit shorter. Snap FX with the battery is definitely the longest. And the Boost FX and the FX Plus, kind of the same size. The FX1 has this little curved indentation for the more of an ergonomic grip. And none of these three have that, just rounded. The only models that have the actual snap is obviously the Snap FX and the FX1, where you can get in there to clean it out. And that works well. Boost FX has a hanging hook. Snap FX on the interchangeable battery has a hanging hook. FX Plus has the hanging hook. The FX1 just has a hanging hook that slides out, which is pretty cool. I like that hook better, actually. Now, talk about the accessories. Now, the FX1 comes with the premium clips, but it only goes up to number 4. I was kind of surprised about that, but we buy so many clippers nowadays. We have so many sets. And it comes with the charging stand. The charging stand is just for the battery, though, which charges traditional plug or USB. And I was kind of upset about that because I love a charging stand. I love to just drop my clipper on there, have it charging, not have to worry about it. But this, you have to take the battery out and put it in a charging stand. You know, I'm not crazy about that because then where do I put the machine? They do have a hanging hook back here, but You know, I'm not hanging my machines. The FX Plus, and I want to stress this real quick because I don't even think a lot of people know the FX Plus exists. Basically, when you see that little plus next to the FX on the box, or if it has that USB on the bottom, that's how you know. If you're gonna buy BaByliss and you see like, oh man, here it is. No, you need the FX Plus. But back to the accessories. The USB plug, the USB-C charger, comes with the oil, comes with the clipper cover, comes with the screwdriver, comes with the basic guards, not the premium guards. The Snap FX, they come with premium guards up to a 6 clip, and they also come with the dual charging stand where you can drop your batteries in and you could have your machine in the charging stand with the battery on it or without the battery on it. With the Boost, you could get a pack with the charging stand, obviously comes with the plug, oil, screwdriver, and they come with basic guards. Now we have to do the last thing, which is tear down all these clippers, open them up, and just see what they look like inside. These tabs are what you kind of have to pop off. You get a flathead in there to do it. So now this will slide off. When you slide this off, you want to be careful to not lose this piece. FX1. Look at that little motherboard in there. Crazy, right? This will also help you get to your battery contacts if you needed to. And now I want to see what this N1 brushless motor looks like, so we'll take off the motor housing real quick, take a peek at that, and then we're going to put it all back together. It sits on a little rubber housing, which is interesting. And this is the N1 brushless motor. Get a look at the shaft right here. Set up a little different than the FX1. They have this little rubber thing that the motor sits in. And if you look at the shaft with the FX1, they look different. They're slightly different. See, this has this notch right here. Interesting. You know, this changes torque sometimes. So here's a comparison with the FX1 and the FX Plus. FX1 and the Snap FX, similar inside. And let's compare the FX Plus and the Boost. I have a little extra chip down here for the USB-C charging, and circuitry very similar, not exactly the same though. So interesting stuff. So this also is a little bit of a FX1 teardown video. And now, let's get it all back together. So there you have it, all back together. And if you decide to go to the FX1 ecosystem, they have a dual battery charging stand, and that charging stand can be connected to 3 other charging stands. So that would be 8 batteries charging at the same time, because you'd have 4 dual charging stands all together. So you can really go crazy with the ecosystem. We'll see if it sticks around though, you know. We thought the Snap FX was the groundbreaking thing, and they got rid of it. And let me just say, even lining up this arrow and putting the battery in, it doesn't feel that smooth. I don't like it. I don't know how it's gonna hold over time. I just feel like you could wind up jamming it in there the wrong way, because it's not something you could do. It's not something you could do quick. And even when it goes in, and even when it pops out, I'm not crazy about that. So I hope this video helps you make sense of the world of BaByliss. We're moving on to do a video about the trimmers. So till the next time.